Hello and welcome to Defective Doctrine with Pastor David.
Okay, I agree this isn't technically a doctrinal matter, but as a lover of languages and an amateur linguist, I cringe at some of the misunderstandings you come across in theological circles about Bible translation. Even if they're not doctrinal, they're certainly defective. And there's one particular thing I want to get across today. There is no such thing as a literal Bible translation, and that's not what we should be aiming for anyway. The whole idea of literal Bible translation is based on the sadly common misunderstanding that languages are like codes. You just take the Greek or Hebrew words and replace them with the English equivalents, and hey presto, you've translated the Bible. Unfortunately, there's rarely such a direct correspondence between the words of two different languages, and the dictionary definition is not always the best translation anyway. For example, when I first came to England, I saw signs along the roads saying, "Don't drink and drive." And I was confused because I thought they meant you couldn't take a sip of water from a water bottle while driving. Now, I have since learned that to drink can also mean more specifically to drink alcohol. So you can actually tell the same person on the same occasion both that they need to drink more and that they shouldn't drink so much. There is no contradiction. You just need to interpret it correctly. And I think that's the problem. People don't like the idea of interpretation. Translators shouldn't interpret. They should just translate what the text says. But that's the thing. You can't do that. All translation necessarily involves interpretation. Why do we translate the Bible? To make it possible for followers of Jesus to read, understand, and obey the Word of God. And in order to achieve that goal, a translation needs to be faithful to the original. But that doesn't mean being literal. That means conveying the same message, eliciting the same reactions as the original text did to the original readers. And to achieve that, you have to interpret the text. You may know that Biblical Greek has several words for love. You have eros, which is erotic or romantic love, philia, which is brotherly love, agape, which is divine, sacrificial love. Now, if you wanted to translate the Beatles' "All You Need Is Love" into Biblical Greek, which one of those three would you use? Well, obviously the one that says the same thing as the Beatles intended to say. And the process of determining the intentions of Lennon and McCartney, well, that is interpretation. Or take the Greek word pneuma. It means spirit, but it also means wind, and it means breath. But it doesn't usually carry all three meanings every time it's used. So, the correct translation, obviously, is the one that determines and expresses the meaning the author intended to convey in each particular passage. Or take a look at Matthew 16, verse 24. "Whoever wants to be my disciple must deny themselves." Now, the word must isn't there in the original Greek. Instead, the verb to deny is in the third person singular imperative. It's a command form aimed at somebody you're not currently addressing. And English simply has no equivalent, which means translations have to find another way of saying the same thing. For example, saying "let them" or "they must" or something similar. But you cannot provide a literal translation. It's simply not possible. Bible translations are full of just that kind of decisions. That's why different translations differ from each other, and also why Bible translators need to know a lot more than just Greek and Hebrew vocabulary. And that's why a literal translation isn't normally a good translation. A good translation is one that conveys the same message as the original text. And a translation that doesn't do that is clearly a defective translation. Thank you for watching.